If you're thinking about moving to Kelowna, there's one question almost everyone asks pretty quickly. Can you actually afford to live here anymore? Kelowna has seen some of the most growth in Canada over the past few years, and with that growth, the cost of living has definitely changed. In this video, I'm going to break down the real cost of living in Kelowna in 2026. Housing prices by neighborhood, rent, groceries, utilities, transportation, and the job market so you can set realistic expectations before you make the move. And stay until the end because I'm going to show you exactly how far your money goes here compared to Vancouver, and the numbers might actually surprise you. I'm Dave LaRock, a Kelowna realtor, and I actually made this move myself from the Lower Mainland, so I'm not just reading stats off of a spreadsheet. I've lived this firsthand. Let's get into it. First, a bit of context on why Kelowna's costs have shifted. If we look at the last 5 years, Kelowna has added over 28,000 new residents. That's roughly 5,000 to 6,000 people moving here every single year. A lot of people are coming from cities like Vancouver, Calgary, and Toronto. Drawn by the lake, the mountains, the wineries, and honestly, a pace of life you just can't get in larger cities. And not in this kind of setting. And once you're here, you start to realize it's not just the lake or the views, it's how everything comes together in one place. But that demand has naturally pushed up prices. So the real question becomes, how much does it cost to live that lifestyle? And more importantly, which areas give you the most value for your money? Let's start with the biggest expense because this is where most buyers either win or lose their budget. Housing is by far the biggest cost for most people moving to Kelowna. At the time of filming this video, based on the most recent data available from March 2026, the average price for a single family home across central Okanagan is just over 1 million, while townhomes are sitting around 725,000 and condos in around 470. Now, depending on where you're moving from, those numbers might sound either expensive or surprisingly reasonable. For example, if you're coming from markets like Vancouver or Toronto, prices here can still look relatively affordable for the amount of space you're getting. But if you're moving from somewhere like Alberta, Saskatchewan, or smaller BC communities, Kelowna can feel quite a bit more expensive. Of course, those numbers can vary quite a bit depending on the area of the city and type of property you're looking at. To give you some examples, in areas like Rutland, you can still find some of the more attainable detached homes in Kelowna. Single family homes here, based on the March 2026 numbers, fall in the low 800,000 range depending on condition and location. Rutland has seen a lot of development over the past several years, and it's become a popular entry point for buyers looking for more space while staying within Kelowna city limits. Now, an area like Glenmore, on the other hand, tends to come in higher. Single family homes here fall right around the 945,000 range. One of the reasons Glenmore is so popular is that it's very central. You're about 10 minutes to downtown and UBC Okanagan, about 15 minutes to Kelowna International Airport and Kelowna General Hospital. And it has a lot of family-friendly neighborhoods. Then when you move towards areas like Lower Mission or Upper Mission, pricing jumps again. Single family homes in these neighborhoods often range from just over 1.2 million up to around 1.3 million and beyond. These areas are popular because of their proximity to the lake, newer homes, access to parks and nature, and in Upper Mission, elevated neighborhoods with some impressive views overlooking the valley and Okanagan Lake. Townhouses follow a similar pattern depending on location. In Rutland, townhomes sit in the mid 500s, while in Glenmore they're closer to around 700,000. In areas like the Lower or Upper Mission, townhouse prices can range from 800,000 to just over 1.1 million. Condos also show a similar trend across these areas. In Rutland, condos typically sit around the 360,000 range, while in Glenmore they're closer to 490. In areas like the Lower Mission, pricing does shift a bit, with condos sitting around the 470,000 range. So what does that actually look like in real life? If you had a budget of around 950,000 to 1 million in an area like North Glenmore, you can find a move-in ready detached home with over over 3,000 square feet of living space, multiple bedrooms, a double garage, and enough room to comfortably accommodate a family. Of course, listings change all the time, but this gives you a pretty good idea of what that price range can look like right now. To give you a comparison, areas like Glenmore would be somewhat similar to neighborhoods just outside of downtown Vancouver, like Burnaby, where you're still close to the core, but in a more residential setting. But because Glenmore is so central, you're about 10 to 15 minutes from downtown, the airport, the hospital, and even the lake, there really isn't a perfect one-to-one comparison in Metro Vancouver. That said, here's what that same budget typically looks like in Burnaby. And just to put that into perspective, both of the homes we're looking at here are listed at essentially the same price, right around $999,000. And this is the difference in what that budget can get you. At around that same price point, finding a detached home becomes extremely difficult, and most of what you'll see are townhomes or duplexes instead, often with significantly less square footage, less privacy, and in many cases you're paying the same or even more. And that's where you really start to see the difference, not just in the home itself, but in the overall lifestyle that comes with living in Kelowna. In many cases, you're getting more square footage, more privacy, and a better overall lifestyle for the money, with easy access to the lake, outdoor living, and everything Kelowna has to offer. Now, it's also worth mentioning West Kelowna, because this is where many buyers start looking for more affordable options. As of now, the average single-family home price in West Kelowna sits around $720,000, while townhouses average roughly $600,000 and condos $420,000. For many buyers, West Kelowna can offer better value compared to some of the higher priced areas like Glenmore or the lower and upper Mission. Of course, the trade-off is commuting across the bridge if you're working in Kelowna. While Kelowna may no longer be considered an inexpensive market, understanding these price ranges up front helps set realistic expectations and makes it easier to decide which area and property type make the most sense for your situation. One thing to keep in mind as well, property taxes in Kelowna will vary depending on the home, but they're typically a few $1,000s per year, and are something you'll want to factor into your overall budget. If you're thinking about moving to Kelowna and you want to learn more about the real estate market, different neighborhoods, and what daily life actually looks like here, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I post videos about living and moving to Kelowna so you stay up to date as the market changes. Now, if you're watching this because you're seriously considering a move to Kelowna, there's a link down below where you can sign up for automatic listing alerts so you can start seeing what's actually available right now. You can enter the type of property you're looking for, your price range, and the areas you're interested in, and you'll automatically get notified anytime a new listing hits the market that matches your criteria. That way you can start seeing what's available in Kelowna without having to consistently search for homes yourself. Alright, now that we've covered housing, let's take a look at the rental market. Even if you're planning to buy, eventually a lot of people moving to Kelowna, they actually rent first while they get familiar with the city. Right now, the rental market has become a bit more balanced compared to the last few years. On average, you're looking at roughly $1,900 to $2,000 per month depending on the size and location of the unit. Typically, you'll see a one-bedroom apartment fall in the low to mid-1700s, two-bedroom units in the low 2000s, and three-bedroom rentals can reach $2,600 or higher. Availability has improved quite a bit as vacancy rates have increased, so renters generally have more options than they did just a few years ago. When it comes to transportation, Kelowna is still a city where owning a vehicle is the most practical option for most people. Gas prices here can fluctuate quite a bit, but currently they're sitting in the mid to high 1.70 per liter. Kelowna does have a public transit system with a single ride costing $3, a day pass is at $6, and a monthly pass at $80. The transit system works well along major routes, but it isn't as extensive as you would see in larger cities. And because of that, many residents rely on their vehicles for day-to-day life. It's worth mentioning that Kelowna is actually becoming more bike-friendly as well. There are growing networks of bike lanes and multi-use trails connecting many parts of the city, including downtown Glenmore and the Mission area. The Mission Creek Greenway and Okanagan Rail Trail make cycling a realistic option for commuting or getting around the city for some residents. And when it comes to everyday expenses like groceries, Kelowna is fairly in line with most cities across British Columbia. Estimates suggest the average grocery cost in Kelowna is typically somewhere between about $500 and $600 per month per person, depending on your lifestyle and shopping habits. Of course, that will vary depending on how many people you're feeding and how often you eat out. One nice thing about living here though is access to local produce. During the summer months, you'll find fruit stands throughout the Okanagan Valley selling cherries, peaches, apples, and local grown vegetables. Now let's talk about everyday costs that keep things running. Internet in Kelowna typically runs anywhere from about $60 to $100 per month, with most people landing somewhere in the middle depending on the provider and speed. Mobile phone plans in Kelowna typically range from about $45 to $80 per month depending on the provider and how much data you need. When it comes to utilities like gas, electricity, water, and garbage, the numbers can vary depending on the size of the home and of course how it's used. But to give you a real life example here in Kelowna, for a townhome around 1,600 square feet, you might be looking at roughly around $300 per month for utilities combined. That typically includes about $230 for gas and electricity, with another $60 to $70 for water and garbage. Kelowna's job market has become more diverse over the years, transitioning from a primarily tourism and resource-based economy, including industries like agriculture, into a more balanced mix of industries. Major employment sectors include healthcare, construction, tourism, agriculture, education, and professional services. The University of British Columbia, Okanagan, and Kelowna General Hospital are two of the largest employers in the region. Kelowna International Airport is also a major economic driver, supporting thousands of jobs across the region as it continues to expand. At the same time, Kelowna has also seen growth in technology companies, along with more remote workers relocating here while keeping jobs based in larger cities. That mix of lifestyle-driven industries and remote work is one of the reasons the population continues to grow. And ultimately, people move here for the lifestyle. The lake in the summer, the mountains in the winter, the wineries, and the outdoor lifestyle year-round. And during the winter months, skiing becomes a big part of life here. You have Big White Ski Resort, which is about 55 minutes to an hour from Kelowna, and Silver Star Mountain Resort, roughly an hour to an hour and 15 minutes away, near Vernon. Having two major ski resorts this close to the city is something a lot of residents take advantage of throughout the winter. So while summer in Kelowna is often about the lake, hiking, or biking in the surrounding mountains, winter can often mean spending weekends up at the ski hill, whether that's skiing or even snowshoeing. For many people, that lifestyle is what makes living in Kelowna worth it. If you're seriously thinking about buying or moving to Kelowna and have questions about the real estate market, feel free to reach out. All of my contact information is down below, and I'm always happy to help. And if you found this video helpful, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss future videos about living and moving to Kelowna. The market here moves fast, so the more you know before you arrive, the better position you'll be in. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.